Hello and welcome to episode 14 of The Board Crew. I'm your host, Ben.
And I'm Tony.
Tonight we are talking about 3 games. We're going to be talking about Hadrian's Wall.
Hive.
And
Kabuto Sumo.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's dive into it.
All right. First game we're talking about today is Hive Pocket, designed by John Yanni and published by Gen 42 Games. Hive is a game where you are a colony of insects versus another colony of insects. You have hexagonal pieces. One is team white, one is team black, and the object of the game is to surround the opponent's queen bee. Now, this probably sounds very familiar to you because it's chess. Just a modern version, really. That's how I see it.
It does feel very chess-like.
All the pieces have their own style of movement, which is very chess-like. We all know the pawns move forward by 1 or 2 from the start, and your queen can jump around. The pieces in this can all do the same sort of thing. Like your spider has to move 2 spaces, very much like a rook. I apologize if that's wrong for any chess enthusiast, but I'm pretty sure that's the right piece. It's the horse I'm talking about. Either way.
That's the knight.
That's the knight. There we go. Completely wrong. You can tell I'm a chess enthusiast. No, I do love this game.
It's a fairly new game. You might not have got a chance to play it yet.
Yeah, no, I haven't. No, I haven't got like a custom-made wooden set sitting in my garage at home that I made or anything. No, why would I have that? A chess set, I mean. But yeah, Hive was very much a chess-like board game, but in an abstract style.
Well, I mean, chess is abstract.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, chess you can almost call a war game.
I kind of feel the theme of war comes through better in Hive. Look,
Maybe.
One of the differences of Hive is you're not dealing with squares, you're dealing with hexes. So straight away you've got kind of 6 axes of movement instead of
8.
8.
Yeah, but I understand. Yeah, most of your pieces go forward. Yeah, so in your Hive you have your pieces that are always touching each other. So you're creating one continuous hive. You can't split the hive apart. Your pieces have to be able to move freely if you want to move it. So it can't break a hive. It can't slide into the middle of 5 pieces if it can't physically fit. So you have to always be thinking about your movements. Each of the insects do different things, whether it be running around the outside of the board or a hive, or jumping across it, or climbing on top, or just moving one space, which is your queen bee, just like your king.
And some of them, in the expansion, some of them you can like pick up another piece and like shove it somewhere else.
Yeah, that's one of the beetles can basically like a dung beetle, like flip them out of the way.
Yoink.
Yeah, so yeah,
Yeet them.
yeah, that's it pretty much.
We're down with the kids.
Skibbity dee, like whatever they say. Oh my god, kill me now.
I think it's skibbity, not skibbity dee.
Skibbity doo da. Yeah, you can tell I had my birthday the other day and I'm very old now. But yeah, Hive is basically abstract chess is the way I see it, and I absolutely love it because you could be playing, thinking that you've got the next move, and someone moves one piece and completely changes the board state, and you're just like, oh, I have to rethink everything I was doing now, and I just love that about this, that you just learn a little bit more every time you play it. Your thought?
Yeah, I'm not a massive abstract kind of guy. When I was young, I played a bit of chess and sort of checkers and stuff, but now I tend to like less head-to-head kind of game. But Hive does it really quite well. I think Hive's got this really interesting subtlety with how you kind of learn the game. So if you play chess against someone that's played well, they'll just beat you down and you won't feel like you've done anything. If you play Hive against someone that does it well, you'll lose in a few turns because they'll just start surrounding your queen and you'll be like, oh, wow, that was horrendous. And then you kind of go, well, if I do this, then they won't be able to surround my queen. But then they do something different. But each time you lose, I kind of feel like in Hive, you know why you sort of lost. You can see the steps that sort of led to that point.
Yeah.
And you can be like, okay, well, next time I'm just not going to let them get their spider on the outside because I'm going to go pin their spider. And then you're like, haha, now they can't get me. Yeah. And then suddenly like a mosquito moves in and you're like, oh, yeah, I didn't pin the mosquito.
Yeah, the mosquito can do anything that any other insect can do. Yeah.
When you've got 2 people of the same skill level, there's that interesting exploration. But One of the things I do like about Hive for an abstract is when you lose, I feel like you learn something every time you lose because I can see the steps that led to my loss. I don't know how it feels when you win because I basically never do that.
I mean, it's similar, but there's sometimes when I've been playing and I've won and I've gone, okay, I'm going to do, okay, there's that. If I move this here, then because I've got these other things pinned, I should be able to manipulate the board state to the way I want it to. But there's sometimes I've fallen into a win just because, like, one poor move, you're like, hang on, I'm just going to, like, they've moved that there. If I put this on this side of that queen can't move. So now I've locked it. So now I can quickly surround it or.
Yeah. And sometimes it does come down to probably the most anticlimactic Hive ones is when it's just a race to see who can lock the queen.
Yeah.
Because both queens are locked. You know one player's going to win, but you can either stop them from winning next turn or advance yourself.
Yeah.
And you'll know, like, I can keep this going for a long time, but I'm never going to catch them.
Very true. And yeah, it's like as I said, you can't break that hive. So if you can figure out a way to get that queen trapped, like in the mid, like almost as like a linking point in between, so it can't be moved.
Yeah,
it's great. But eventually, that's gonna have to touch. You're gonna have 4 on one side, and like that brings it to a touching, or 5, and then if one. Well,
sometimes they can even loop around. So
yeah,
suddenly there's another way to link the hive, kind of round the back way, and so that original chain can then be just split apart.
Yeah, and completely changed and gone.
Yep.
So it's a great ever-changing board state, and I don't. Yeah, as you said, you can see the reason why you lost. Whereas with chess, I notice a lot of times or they did like studies on this, where people who are good at chess have just played so often that they see, at this board state, I must defend here, here, and here because of this. Or, but then with Hive, you go, okay, that, and then one piece of movement, as you said, could make a loop in the chain. It's like, okay, I haven't seen this before, and so it's just because there's constant roving. I don't think they get to learn it quite as well.
Yeah, the fact that it's essentially an infinite board, even though it's always restricted to where the hive is, but the whole hive can keep shifting over slowly, but you'll never run up against an edge.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's always a lot of options. The other thing about Hive that is really worth mentioning, maybe you can even give it a bit of a jangle, there's a tactile nature to those tiles.
It's so nice.
Which, like, if you were just playing with little cardboard chits or something, which I have, that lowers it significantly. I guess that's very similar to chess, checkers, all those kind of things. You want a good weighty piece. And the art is minimal, but works.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game of two teams having, two people having pieces. So the whole production, everything about it, is just those pieces. And so you're just playing it straight on the table. And yeah, as you said, with the art, like, it's an engraving that's then been colored different colors. So even if you can't see the pictures of the individual insects that well, you can say, oh, that's the red one. Okay, I know that's the ladybug. Yeah. So I can protect it. One other interesting thing about this is you start with nothing on the board. So you choose your first piece to put down, and your opponent does too. And you have to have your queen out by your 4th move, I think it is in the rules. And so, but you could then just play with just 4 pieces trying to trap each other. Or one person could all of a sudden have all their pieces out, which can be a benefit and a curse, because then each piece moves individually in its own way. So they could actually be pinning themselves accidentally. So you're not then stuck in the same way of chess where we each have 16 pieces. This is the board state. It's like, okay, you have 8, I've got 5, or, vice versa. Generally, it seems to stay pretty even. I notice in games, like if someone has, I don't know, 4 pieces out, and then I put one out, they might put another one, because you need to almost counteract their piece, because
I've probably fallen in the trap of I'll just get all my pieces out, then I've got a huge army, which then can't move because then it's all holding itself
I've
together.
Locked my army. Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
I've done the work of my opponent for me.
I've done it plenty of times, and it's great. I love it. Because even when you even if you lose like that, you're like, I I learned something, like you said before. And so it's like, oh, right, I won't do that next time. And then you don't do that. But I really need this spider because this will help me get out of here. I'll just put the spider in. Like, oh, did I put too many now? Yeah, constantly learning. It's great.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, that's Hive.
That is Hive.
Our next game off the rank is Hadrian's Wall. This is by Bobby Hill and published by Garfield Games.
New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand crew. These guys pump out a number of great games, actually. And you can usually tell by the art style that it's by these guys and by the box size. Actually.
It's always the same.
Yeah. They have this kind of reasonably compact sort of, like, it still looks like a real like sit-down game, not just a filler.
Yeah.
But it's a much smaller than, say, a Ticket to Ride box.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sometimes that works against them, but not in Hadrian's Wall because you can fit it all into the box quite nicely.
If you got one of those Bunnings or IKEA cube units, this sits very nicely inside that space.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a bit of room.
Yes, that's what I mean. It fits nicely in there. It's got some gap around it.
Yeah,
you're not
sure.
getting it in there snug. You can easily get it back out again.
Not snug at all. So Hadrian's Wall is a flip and write, or sometimes known as roll and writes. This one you're flipping over cards and writing, but this would be one of the heaviest flip and writes out on the market at the moment.
Yep.
Possibly Twilight Inscription, which I haven't played, could be heavier, but then I've talked to people that have played both and they reckon Hadrian's is more in depth.
Is Twilight Inscription Twilight Imperium's roll and write version?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah, I've heard about it.
So with Hadrian's Wall, you're going to have two, I'm not sure, they're a little bit smaller than A4 size sheets of paper.
It's okay. If you picture A4, but it was a square.
Yeah.
Like, so it's A4 width, so it's A4 width and height as well. So it's a square piece, an origami piece of paper of A4 width.
Yeah. Actually, it's an origami piece of paper, one of those beautiful origami. And you'll have two of those, and they'll be filled with boxes everywhere and little tracks. So if you don't like tracks, I'd probably skip ahead to the next game because this is all about tracks.
But stick around because tracks are awesome.
Tracks are awesome.
Yeah, let's build some tracks.
So what's going to happen in Hadrian's Wall, this is for 1 to 6 players. And each turn, you're going to flip over a card, and that shows you your starting resources that everyone gets. But everyone also has their own deck of 12 cards that they'll shuffle up. They'll draw 2 of those and then choose one that they're going to score with and choose the other one that they're going to gain some resources with. So over the course of 6 rounds, you're going to choose 6 cards to score with. They'll be your own personal kind of goals that you're going to be trying to achieve. And the other 6 could have been scoring opportunities, but you're going to choose them for resources. So you're always going to only score 50% of the 12.
Yeah.
But it's up to you which ones. And you'll get them in different orders to everyone else because everyone shuffles up their deck and goes for it. So it's a pretty basic kind of roll and write in the way that it works. So, you've got this symbol, you can fill in this track.
Yeah. You have a blue cube, you fill in a blue space.
Yeah. So one of the things that Hadrian's Wall does, though, is add physical components to a roll and write, which sounds weird, but you actually get little meeples of various colors and little stone cubes for resources. And the reason you need that is because even though you can't keep them from round to round, there's so much going on that if you didn't have the physical pieces to hold and to go, I've spent one of these,
it would be impossible to track. Right?
I
could not imagine trying to do it without it.
Yeah. And the reason it's impossible to track is because a lot of roll and writes do have a little bit where, you fill in something and when you get to this stage, you get a bonus. Get this far on X track, you get to do something now. So welcome to, you fill in a swimming pool, you get to fill in something on the swimming pool track. That's so clever, Garnchon clever. You fill in this, now you get an extra yellow die or something. And so you can fill in one on the yellow die track.
Yeah.
I mean, Hadrian Wall takes that and then bumps it up to like 15. So as an example, what you might do is you might get like a yellow meeple and you go, okay, well, I can put this yellow meeple into the temple track. And then when I put that in, I get a purple meeple. So I'm going to take that purple meeple and now I can take that purple meeple and I'm going to send him out into the forest. and then he's going to collect a stone. So I'll collect a stone. Now I can put that stone in my fort. So I'll put that in my fort, and then I'll get a black meeple.
Yeah.
And now I'll get that black meeple, and I'll send him out scouting, and then he's going to pick up 2 stones, and then I'm going to put those 2 stones into building a house, and then I get a yellow meeple. So I'm back to where I started from.
You think your turn's done? Your turn is not done. This keeps going. Yeah, you cannot plan that far ahead. You sort of have to roll with it. That was not an intentional pun. I swear. I love it. It's great.
But you're going to be doing that with, even at the start of the game, sort of 8 or so resources, all of which could cycle through and make another 8 themselves. And so it's just this real feeling of abundance as you go through the game, because, wow, I get all this stuff. Now I get to do this. Oh, and that lets me do that. And now I get to get further on this. When I get to this stage, I get this special bonus. And so you're never going to fill all the tracks.
You can't. Well, I'm sure there is probably someone's min-maxed it and figured out how to do it all.
I got close. The max score you can possibly get is 125, I think. And I've got 118, which I was really happy with. But the cards kind of fell in the exact right
That's
order.
what I mean. It has to fall that way. You have to play it this way. It has to go like that. That's what I mean. Like someone's or
and
someone
people
must
have to
done
trade
math.
with you, because that's another thing. You can buy things off your neighbor. They'll have trade goods for sale that you might want to pay stone for. When you send out scouts, which are really valuable for collecting stuff, you've got to give that scout to your neighbor that you just sent out to patrol their land.
Yep.
So there's only positive interactions between each other, but there are negative interactions with the game.
Yes.
So we're on Hadrian's Wall. The Celts or the Picts?
Picts, I think it is.
Scottish guys.
Yeah.
Coming down.
The guys from the north.
The guys from the north are coming down because they don't like your Roman building stuff and they'd like to destroy it.
Yeah.
So you're going to be,
Taylor's
one of
all
the
this
tracks that you can do is going to give you soldiers, and then you've got to station the soldiers on the wall. But you've got to decide, am I going to put them on the right, the left, or in the center of the wall? And then when the Picts attack, you're going to just flip over cards to show which direction and how many Picts come at each attack.
Yeah.
And that's generally where the table kind of rejoins back together from a little, all looking at their sheet going, ooh, woo, woo. You just hear little like shouts of joy to, no!
I only defended the center wall 4 times and they attacked on the left only. Like, oh well.
Yeah. So that's a great little bit of tension in the game as well. The losses are not terrible. It's just points. So you don't actually lose any of your tracks or anything like that. Your soldiers don't die. They're ready for the next thing. But I actually really love Hadrian's Wall because there's so many different strategies. The different tracks feel quite different, completing the different ones. You get very different ways of completing different tracks. So if you want to go high into the kind of the merchant thing, you've got to trade with your neighbors to get all these different numbers. It's like a set collection.
It is, yeah.
Whereas if you're going up the temple and gardens route, you've got to like sacrifice all your slaves to the
Oh
gods.
my god, that gets rough. Or the gladiator route, which
where
I've
you can
never ever done, and I looked into it and I was like, I still don't fully understand it, so I just
it's
ignore
probably
it.
the weakest bit of the game, I think, the gladiator thing. But yeah, it's there to try.
I mean, someone might teach it to us, and we're like, "Oh my god, we've missed out on this for so long."
Oh no, I know how to play it.
I just choose not to. We all trusted you so much. We're like, yeah, if Ben doesn't do it, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, you can sort of grease the wheels of politicians and build like bathhouses and like a courthouse where you get to like free slaves and make them into like
workers for yourself, basically,
and so on. Or you can like imprison workers and make them into slaves.
Yeah, forced inscription into the army. Yeah, I mean, because you got 2 pieces of paper. Like this is huge. So it eventually turns into like the 2 pieces turn into an A3 size paper, roughly, maybe a little bit bigger. So generally on your left hand paper and then right hand paper, your left hand you've got the wall. With trackers along the wall and like where you're choosing to put your defense, and then like houses you're building there and defenses, and like then you're
basically the big 4 giant point tracks are on the first page. So there's only 4 tracks that objectively give you points, essentially. So 4 tracks with 25 boxes in each, and each of those give you a point every time you fill one of those tracks. So there's
Yeah.
potentially 100 points if you can get all 25 of those, but that's tough.
I've never done it.
I haven't filled all 4 of those tracks.
And like, you own this game, so we could play this anytime. And I bought this game to have at home because I liked it that much. And I was like, why did I buy this game? Ben owns this. I could just borrow it. I'm like, no, I'll just play this at home myself.
This is probably Jenny's favorite game at the moment, so she'll always be down to play this. You can play this on BGA if you want to give it a go. I would say, though, you don't quite get the little endorphin rush on BGA, because BGA just kind of tells you, oh, well, you filled in that. Here you go. Here's a yellow guy. Here's another blue guy or something. But you don't really... There's something about filling in a box, picking up a meeple, using that meeple to fill in another box,
getting the currency,
and picking up another meeple because you filled in that box, looking around carefully on your board and going, if I use this meeple here, that will get me another thing to pick up, and I'll pick that up, and then you might be able to play in 2 in a head go, and then I could use that to get something else. But at some point you kind of go, I'm just going to take that because it looks like it gives me a few things, and I'll see how far that goes.
Yeah, you Hail Mary a couple. I mean, like, there's not one player that I've seen at the table who, like, you know, you get all your resources and you're like, great, and you look at them all and then you go, cool, and you're whittling your way through everything, and you get down to your last resource, and they'll always pick it up and twirl it in their hand, like, as if, like, this sort of thing, like, thinking, like, this one resource could be nothing or everything all in my hand. I just need to find the spot. And you find that spot and it feels great.
Yeah.
So yeah, but having a virtual version of that, you just
it is well implemented on BGA. It works quite well, but you just won't. I just don't quite get the joy.
Yeah,
they've done
and that
everything
camaraderie of turning the card for when the Scots attack. Scots attack your wall. So. Yeah, there's just something about that where, as you said, like the collective groan or cheer of defense, and as you get further and further, and they attack more and more, and everyone's just nervous watching these flips. Yeah, it's a great feeling.
Yeah, yep, really good. I highly recommend giving Hadrian's Wall a go. It will take you, they say 60 minutes on the box. I reckon your first game you're probably looking at 2 hours.
Probably.
Maybe?
Like, I would say, like, nearly everyone would get a little bit of analysis paralysis at the start of this, just because there's so much that you're looking at and you're like, oh, what do I do? Where do I start? Just pick one resource and just tick one box and just go with that. Like, if you're looking at the right hand trackers and you go, oh, cool, the bathhouse sounds cool, just follow down the bathhouse track. That's fine. Like,
it'll do something for you.
It will, and you'll go, oh, okay, well, this gave me a purple meeple. This purple one goes to the entertainers or whatever one it is. It's like, well, tick off the entertainers. Oh, cool. And it gives you that sort of, like, it forces you to look at different things. So just start filling it in, and then it'll bring you along and sort of, it takes you to the candy shop and goes, what would you like out of all these candies? And you're like, I have no idea. And they're like, well, here's a bag, start filling it. And you're like, okay. And then you put one thing and you're like, oh, I'll take that.
If you take a Jaffa, like, well done, sir. Now you also get the mint leaf.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I didn't see with the mint leaves, you've also got, like, musk sticks. I don't like musk sticks. Why did I say musk sticks? Anyway, whatever. But, if you like musk sticks, okay, cool, good for you.
This isn't a review on musk sticks.
No. But, it's great.
One negative I would say against Hadrian's Wall is you are probably looking at a 20 to 30 minute teach.
Oh, easy.
And that's a lot for a flip and write.
Yeah.
When you kind of start to tell people, like I've taught this probably 15, 20 times now, and I'm up front going like, we're going to be here because I've got to explain all these tracks. And this isn't a roll and write that you can just look and go, I understand what that means now.
Yeah.
Even if you've played a lot of them. The iconography is good. I will say, out of all of the games that I've taught, I've never had someone had to stop the game to work out a rule once it's been taught, because the game flows.
No, I've never. Or like, if it might be, if it's been a long time between games, I might go, what's that again? And someone goes, it's this. And you're like, yeah, right, cool.
Yeah.
And it's just like, of course it is. And so it's very intuitive once you've already played.
It really works well. Once you've taken that first turn, you understand how it works. And it's really easy to just kind of keep going. So it's got that for it, but there's just a lot of front loading at the start going like, okay, we have 2 big sheets of paper in front of us and they're full of stuff. And I've got to kind of go through that stuff with you.
Yeah.
So that you can have some idea about what you're doing.
Because then you tell them, you go down this track doing this, we'll unlock this, which will let you do this. You can't go beyond this point until you do this, but you need this to get to this point to do this. That. Yeah. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, and this track works slightly differently because this one you've got to do, like, you can do them in any order, but you have to do it this way.
Yeah, you have to cover all of these, but you can't do it this.
And this one, you don't actually need to cover all of them. You just need to do these patterns.
Yeah.
Which is great because it means every track does feel different. But the drawback of that is you've got to learn the difference of each track.
Yeah.
So,
but once you've learned it once, you're pretty set. Like, this isn't something, as you said, it's once you know it, you're gonna play and go cool, and then you can come back to it a month, 2 months later, and go, what was this again? Oh yeah, that was that. Sweet, cool. And it'll probably just be one thing that you were just a bit iffy on.
So that's Hadrian's Wall. I highly recommend.
Super recommended.
All right, Tony, what are we reviewing next?
I'll tell you, Ben, what we're going to be reviewing next. We're going to be reviewing the best wrestling game that this industry has ever seen. You're going to feel it. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to push these bugs in and out of the ring. And now that's the bottom line because we said so. We are reviewing Kabuto Sumo.
And you said bugs.
Yeah, bugs. We are the bugs. Again, I'm reviewing 2 bugs today. Yeah, this is Kabuto Sumo, and it is a wrestling board game. Kabuto Sumo plays in roughly 15 to 20 minutes. That is legit, and the setup is nice and quick. There's no, I'll put this here, it's a picture in a book, and you just put the pieces in the picture, and then you take the pieces from the remaining tableau for your card, and then you put all the other pieces away, and that's it. And that's what you play with. It's not as hardcore as I just made it sound, but it's a lot of fun. You are basically it's a 2 to 4 player game. You can either have 2 teams of 2 or 3 individuals fighting in a cage match, if you like. You're all on top of a wood stump, and you have different
as
pieces.
Bugs often are.
As bugs often are, on top of a stump. You get up there, you fight other bugs, and then you start pushing these pieces onto the board from a platform in an attempt to try and push your opponent's bug out of the ring to win.
So it's like sumo wrestling. Sumo.
It is exactly sumo wrestling as Kabuto Sumo says. So it's Kabuto Sumo, designed by Tony Miller, art by Kwanchai Maria. Kabuto actually means insect. So it's insect sumo.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
As much as it was going to.
I do love this game. It's not big bashing movements or anything. You have a piece that you put around the central board, like a stand you put around the central board, and you slide your piece on until it's completely on, and then you don't move it any further. So you can't do big hits in or anything, but you can get different size pieces, which can really change the board state and really start pushing your opponent off. You all select a different bug at the start, which is a card. So they've got like Cactus Jack and all these other different wrestlers. So you can really find ones which take inspiration from wrestlers you may know, but also they all have their own special ability. So there's one of the bugs which has pincers. So if you get your opponent between that or whatever piece you get between these special pincer piece you push on, that piece gets thrown out of the ring. Mm-hmm. And so it becomes yours. And object of the game, try and push that opponent off the board without losing all your pieces to push on. Because if you do, you've gone into submission because you can't continue fighting. They sort of act as like a stamina for yourself as well.
So this almost sounds like one of those old like carnival games, like where you're dropping the coin in and like trying to push the other coins.
So you get more coins.
Levels, so you get more coins to drop more coins in.
Yeah, to try and get that special card that's sitting in the middle of it all. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And so you start off with a certain number of pieces as it's depicted on your insect card. You set up your stand, push that in. Whatever falls off, you get to keep, and then goes to the opponent. They push, and you're both just trying to tactically slowly push these pieces around to push your opponent off. Fun fact about these pieces you're pushing on, though, they look like a circle, but they're not. They're like slightly oval shaped.
No.
And so as you push it on, it's not going to all move the way you would expect it to.
Yeah, because they've got slightly off edges.
Yeah, and so they actually, you're pushing, you think, okay, if you're playing pool, for example, you're like, okay, I'm going to hit this white ball, it's going to hit that ball, it's going to push it there. No, you push this into that, you push like the disc you have into the disc in front of it, and all of a sudden the disc in front of you just moves completely to the side, and you're like, damn. Like, so there's a little bit of an element of luck and just randomness in there to make it so it's not as easy just to push pieces around.
And so when you start the game, how many pieces are on the board?
So on the board generally,
is there like a couple of turns of just pushing into nothingness? Or
no, there's pieces stacked all around the board. Your bugs are stacked, like partly into the board as well. So that way you can't just take someone out in the first push, no matter how well you get it. Well, maybe you can. I don't know. I said that with such gusto,
but you are going to kind of. There's not like a couple of turns of just warm up. You're going to be pushing and getting other pieces back.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So as soon as you start pushing, you're going to start getting other pieces. You might sometimes have to push to try and just get other pieces because you might be running low, or you might be, for example, Mighty Jaw Mike, who has the Manable Claws, which is the one I was talking about before. How lucky is that? And you got to pay 3 of your pieces to your opponent to be able to get his special piece.
Oh, right.
So then you start really sacrificing what you've got to be able to use your
ability.
your sumo special ability. And there is no shortage of bugs and choices here, and they are all unique in their own way. Like, one of my favorite ones is the composter, which is a giant centipede, and it's actually got 5 boomerang shaped pieces, and you can choose to get only 1 or all 5 of them and push them all in together, so you can actually have a little train to actually really push and drive things forward with. Or, one of them has stars, or you get Cactus Jack has an actual piece that looks like a cactus. So you have this long, pointy piece, which all of a sudden just shoves into the board. It's really cool. They've got 8 wrestler cards and 5 junior in the standard pack. And the junior cards is for, the younger kids. You already start with starting pieces and your special ability pieces, but you can't get them back again.
Right, yep.
So it just makes it easier rather than having to do the extra trade and thinking of things like that. So just dumbs down the strategy a little bit, so that way you can just have fun of pushing pieces onto this board.
And so you played this with your kid?
Yep. Yes, I have. Again, he seems to beat me so often, but it's great when I beat him with this, because this is one that hits the table probably once every 2 weeks. We love playing this one that much. It came on a holiday with us recently,
nice.
And we did a 3-player game with his mum, my wife, as well, and just having that third person trying to push, because I think in a 3-player game it's last man standing.
Right. So I was thinking as you were describing, this is just like a duel game, but how many players can?
4.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can have either head to head.
I mean, that's traditional sumo, right?
Yeah,
just
of course.
Get as many wrestlers in as you like.
All of you run at each other at the same time, try and push each other out of there. Yeah, so you either have head to head or 3-player, or you have 2 teams of 2, and you just need to push off one of the opponents to win in a 2 teams of 2. In a nutshell, that's Kabuto Sumo. You get your piece, you have it set up. You set up the board. You pick one of your discs to push onto the board. You put this little platform next to the main center circle. Slide it on until it's completely onto the board and no further. Any pieces fall off, you collect. Otherwise, turn just goes to the next player, and you keep going until one of you pushes the other one off.
Yeah, nice.
Or you accidentally push yourself off.
That would be embarrassing, but I could see it happening.
Yeah, it can happen very easily. It's awesome. I do recommend it. It's I don't know how much it is. I did not actually say who this is published by, but I believe it's published by BoardGameTables.com.
Ah, they did bites.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Highly recommend.
We talked about Hadrian's Wall, Hive, and Kabuto Sumo. 3 pretty great games, really. So 2 which are on the shorter side, and 1 which you'd think would be short, being a roll and write.
Yeah.
Is not.
No.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the longest roll and write we could think of.
Yeah, pretty much. So, well, as traditional, which one would you rather play?
I realized I chose two like head-to-head games. I play Hive. I really enjoy that. Yeah, that moving chessboard style. What is it? And it's also fun just to play with different pieces. What does this piece do? Oh, okay, I'll put that. Oh, I can run around everything now. And you're like, cool. And you're like, that's great, but it doesn't. Yeah, anyway, I've already done my review on that. Oh, yeah, I would go with Hive.
Yeah,
what about yourself,
I don't
Ben?
feel like losing Hive again, so I'd probably go Kabuto Sumo.
Right.
It sounds like silly fun.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's silly fun.
Yeah, which is great. And now, having heard that it's by the publishers that did Bites,
Thank you, Ben.
thank you, Tony. And thank you to all our listeners. We look forward to getting bored with you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been The Board Crew. Thanks for listening. Join the conversation by rolling over to our socials and just search The Board Crew on Facebook.
And I'm back again, Tony. Oh, no, that felt so bad to say. Sorry.
We won't cut that.
Yes, we will. I'm back again, Tony. Who the...